Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Make It with Mecca. I am your host, Mecca. So today, guys, I am giving you another fanfic video after almost a whole year, after more than a year of not uploading a video about fanfic. So you guys have loved my last video. It's got almost 7,000 views, which is huge for me because I'm still a small YouTuber, and I greatly appreciate every single comment that you guys have left, and I do try to answer them as best as I can. So thank you guys for all the love and support of that video. Make sure you guys subscribe and hit that bell down there, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment and tell me how much you enjoyed this video or if you guys have any questions. So without further ado, let's talk about 5 more mistakes that fanfic writers make. The first mistake I would say is not having a clear plan. So one of the greatest tips I ever got about writing is to put all my ideas in one spot. So this is my idea notebook. It's just a regular notebook, wide ruled, even though I like college ruled, 1 subject, 70 sheet notebook. And I just write all my ideas. You guys may call them like drabbles or anything, but I just put my ideas in this notebook. And whenever I feel the urge to write, or if I want to complete a story, I look in this book and I go through and I see what kind of ideas I like, which ones I can combine and which ones need their own solo story, and I actually write out the characters, the plot, before I even start writing my final draft. So before I even pull out my laptop to start typing up things, I go in my notebook and I just write out a plot. I want to figure out how I want the story to go. I know we all get inspiration really quickly and it might leave us like that if we don't write it down, but unless you're writing a drabble, you actually really need to see what the end game for your story is. So never start writing without an idea of where you want your plot to go, how you want it to end, how you want the middle to go, how you want the characters to be. Those are really important for writing a really great fanfic. The second mistake is having unlikable characters. Now, I might have briefly touched on this before when I was talking about Mary Sue characters in my last video. It's really important to have characters that people can relate to. There's nothing worse than me actually getting interested in the story from its summary or things like that, and you have a character who's a Mary Sue, which is an all-around perfect person, and she can do no wrong, and she's just beautiful and everybody loves her, and she doesn't really have troubles. I can't relate to that because I'm not a perfect person and neither is anybody else. So it's really important to have characters that people like, that people enjoy reading about, because you want your readers to get into the story. And if they get into the story, they get invested into the story, and that means more attention, more writing for you. You want to please your audience because they're who you're writing for, unless you're just writing for yourself and you really don't care. But still, you need to be able to relate those characters too. So always make likable or relatable characters. They don't have to be nice, but they just have to be real people. The third mistake is having a story that goes on for too long. There's nothing I hate more than this because I am an avid fanfic reader, guys. I read fanfic daily, nightly, for hours, whenever I have free time. There's nothing worse than having a story that is 50,000 words long that really only needed to be 20,000 words. You don't want to drag a story out just to get more chapters out of it. There's nothing like a story that drags on for too long. It's horrible, guys, let me tell you. You know how you've read books and the story just seems like you could have cut the last 3 chapters out because they weren't really necessary. You don't want filler. Like how we always talk about, you know, anime and stuff like that, which is what a lot of fanfic is based off of, and how just like Naruto has a lot of fillers. You don't want to have a story that's filler filled. You don't want a story that has a lot of fillers in it, okay? I don't want the extra chapters that really just have no bearing on the story whatsoever. I want a great, concise story with a plot and drama and everything like that, but I don't want it to go on 30,000 words more than it needs to, because sometimes the greatest stories are the shortest stories. The fourth mistake, and this is a really big one, is not using the correct visionary techniques. And what I mean by that is, when you're reading, you're not seeing. Why am I doing this? When you're reading, you're not seeing the screen. It's not like watching a movie where you can see every movement, every gesture, every expression that the characters make. In books, you have to read it, so that means you have to envision it in your mind. And a great story always has great visionary techniques. And what I mean by that is, if you have your characters in a certain setting, and they're doing something, I need to be able to envision exactly where they are. So if they're at school, I need to see, are they by their lockers? Are they leaning against their lockers? Are they walking down the hall? Things like that. They're really important for how the story progresses because I need to be able to envision your characters. If I can't envision your characters and all it is just dialogue, that's gonna be really hard on me as a reader because I don't want just dialogue. When I'm reading, I want to be enveloped in the story. I can't have that if I'm not being able to envision what the characters are doing. If they're just talking, I want to know who's making this expression. Where are they in a certain part of the school? Who's next to them? Are they alone? I need things like that. Are they eating while they're talking? Is somebody on their phone? I need things like that. So you need to have the correct visionary techniques, and that doesn't mean you have to over describe, but it just means that you need to pay attention to what your characters are doing, because even though you as a writer might know exactly what you have in your mind as you're writing it, the readers don't. So that's very important to express what you're doing. And the fifth mistake fanfic writers make is having mistakes and inconsistencies in their stories. So I did briefly talk about this in my last fanfic video, but one main thing that sets me off about stories is when the spelling isn't right, or when you guys have wrong pronunciation marks, things like that. I am a grammar Nazi, and no matter how good the story is, I will immediately click back because I do not like reading grammar mistakes. Now, everybody's entitled to one or two mistakes, especially if you haven't had somebody read over it like your beta reader or anything. But when your story just has holes, grammar, and your plot is inconsistent, I get really confused as a reader, because the one thing you need to focus on is consistency. If you have a timeline, you need to stick to that timeline. If you are making a story that's revolving around a certain holiday or a certain time in the school year, you need to stay consistent on that timeline. Because if you skip time like a week later, but that specific date was very important, then you're being inconsistent and your readers will notice. I definitely notice. And I don't know if it's because I've always read a lot of fanfic, but I do notice a lot of young fanfic writers cannot stick to a timeline, and it's very important to stick to your timeline, especially if you have it revolving around a holiday or on a special event. You really need to stick to that timeline. You need to know what seasons your characters are in school. You can't have a story about vacationing, but it's in the middle of winter and people have school. So unless your characters are out of school, you need to make sure that you have an attention to detail, because inconsistencies ruin stories. Trust me, guys. So that was this video. I really hope you guys liked it. I'm gonna make a lot more fanfic videos, so I hope you guys stay tuned. My flower crown is back, and for those of you who haven't seen my recent videos, I do have my braces out. Ta-da! So yeah, this is my background now. I have my new desk that I'm leaning on. I'm sorry guys if you notice, I talk with my hands a lot, so that's just how it's gonna go. And my flowers, of course, because they're so pretty. So I really enjoyed making this video for you guys. Please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe down below and hit that notification bell. I do post to my community, guys. So sometimes when I have a video upcoming or I need ideas, I will post. So please keep an eye out for those. I hope you guys leave me a comment. Tell me how much you enjoyed this, or if you didn't, tell me. If you guys need any more advice, please let me know down in the comment section below. If you have a mistake that you want to add down below, please drop it, because everybody needs a lesson sometimes. So I hope to see you guys again in my next video. Bye!